Hello, hello. Welcome to, I believe it's the third installment of Elevate Coaching, a conversation series that's happening this Women's History Month, highlighting incredible women coaches and helping you to consider new possibilities, create new realities through the power of coaching. My name is Rosella Ide White, and I am your Love Big Coach. I am a coach who believes strongly that love has the power to heal the world. I believe that love creates, love liberates, and love ultimately provides us healing so that we all can thrive. This conversation series, I am inviting friends of mine who are coaches because I've recognized that as I continue to engage this work, there's both a lot of misinformation, some ignorance, and just some general lack of understanding about what coaching is and what coaching isn't. So today, I'm so excited to have my dear friend and a coach training through the Leaders Rising program, colleague Kendell Daly with us to explore her experience as a coach and with coaching. So welcome, Kendell.
Thank you so much, Rosella. I am so excited of all days today to be in this space with you and to, share this wonderful conversation. What a gift. And like I said, you are one of my favorite people, and anybody that has the opportunity to interact or work with Rosella is better off for it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did not ask her to say any of that. Anyone who knows me knows that I've always struggled with like the affirmation publicly. So I'm learning to receive it, to say thank you, right? And to lean in with gratitude. One of the things Kendell and I were talking about is that we're so excited to have this conversation on today, Wednesday, March 8th, because it's International Women's Day. And both Kendell and I are deep lovers of, supporters of women's leadership, women's voice, women's agency. So I feel like there could be no better person to spend part of today with than Kendell. So I'm excited. Yeah. So for these conversations, we are inviting coaches to share more about who they are, their niche, how they got into coaching, and other stuff that comes up in the conversation. So I'm sure that there'll be good nuggets that we'll cling to. So Kendell, why don't you tell folks a little bit about who you are and how you got into coaching?
Thank you. So I'm Kendell Daly. I'm an ICF PCC level credentialed coach. And what brought me to coaching? That is such an easy answer. When I moved to Maryland 6.5 years ago and didn't know what a leap of faith, didn't know a single soul in the state of Maryland. Along the way, I really was worried about getting my family settled and what was next for them. And about 1.5 years into the move, I was like, well, what is next for me? My core values are family, and I love people and community and connection. Mm-hmm. And I was feeling a little lost, like not as much of a sense of community. And it was like, how do I create that? Or what do I do to find that? So through my church, I hired a coach. To find my purpose. It was a purpose clarity program and to tap into my purpose. And along the way, I realized, why am I not coaching? As being a hairstylist for, over 30 years, I'm like, am I not an expert on listening? And I also realized along the way that I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I wanted to empower others. Because giving more of myself than taking is really what fills my cup. So right at the end of that program, I kind of said, okay, like start looking into this. What becomes possible? So I started looking into it. I joined a coach training program. It was a year-long program. And I realized how much I was enjoying it. Yeah. And what else that happened along the way in that was I started to realize how much personal growth was happening for me as well.
Yep.
I showed up to conversations more curious. I was interested in people's stories. And I also realized a lot of us have a lot in common in feeling fulfilled or being afraid to take the next step. So how could I partner with people?
Yes.
To hold them accountable, to make the changes that they want in their lives and to live more joy-filled lives.
I love
So
it.
yeah, I help people build the confidence and shift their mindsets to do just that.
Yeah.
And it's so I over the last 2 years, especially, I got connected with Inner Globe Circle,
Mhm.
and I took a program through them that absolutely changed my life called Leaders Rising. It's their graduate level program. And then I started feeling confident enough, even if I walked alongside fear, to do what I wanted. So for
Ooh,
the first time, I was like, I'm going to take a risk anyway.
yes.
And taking those risks allowed me to meet people like you,
Yeah.
allowed me to share space with women that want to straighten your crown,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and have endless support and community, which again was so important to me. So then, how did I say, okay, in spreading the love, in
Mhm.
spreading, um, how do I share that with others? And that's how coaching really like has fulfilled me
Oh.
and helped me step into my purpose.
Oh my gosh. You just thank you because you just shared so much, right? And I want to just kind of unpack some of the things that you shared. So, you talked about the fact that there was a major transition. We know that moving in and of itself, right, is one of the biggest transitions of our life. I don't think that we always think about it like that. Like we think about things like job transitions, like the death of a person, the end of a relationship, but moving is like literally up there when it comes to the stress and the tumult that it can bring up. And so that provided an opportunity for you to be like, okay, what is it that I really need? Where am I? What do I want? How am I figuring all of this out? And one of the things which I didn't share with our introduction is I think another reason that Kendall and I connected was because we both come out of mainline faith traditions. And she was
Mm,
really active in her church. And for those of you all who are part of mainline faith traditions, you know what Stephen ministers are. But she was accompanying people in a very
mm,
particular way. And so even like leaning into that piece of your faith and this recognition that, oh, there's more. And like, how do I find out what that more is for me? And then you being a hairstylist, like you are absolutely right. Any of us who have hair and who get our hair done, right, regardless of race or ethnicity, we know that hairstylists are sacred people. Like we sit in your chairs, you literally straighten our crowns, you get us together, we talk. The best hairstylists ask one question and then the client is off to the
mm.
races. So it's almost like these parts of yourself were coming together, and coaching provided not only the clarity, but then it invited you to consider what could be possible in your own life and leadership, right? So when you think about the journey of coaching, what did you realize or how did you figure out what exactly you wanted to coach around, right? What are the things that you were seeing that you wanted to support people in specifically as a coach?
So one of the biggest things that comes to mind, because it was something I had a hard time with, being a huge empath and people pleaser,
Mm-hmm.
now being, at least somewhat on the other side of that for sure.
I say we're recovering. We're in
Yes.
recovery, right? So we have to work our process.
um, I wanted to connect with people on how to take a stand for themselves and say yes to no without
Mhm.
guilt.
Mhm.
And that process can be sticky along the way, right? Because when you
Yeah.
first start doing it, you don't feel good about it,
Right.
even though you know it's the thing that you really want.
Right.
The other part
Right.
of that is the people that you're now saying no to, that you've always said yes to, don't receive it well. So there's a little bit of like
Right.
turbulence going on. And when you can practice it with the ones you love, knowing that it will be safe, although not always okay, it
Mhm.
starts building the confidence
Yeah.
to take a stand for you. And when you
Mm.
start taking a stand for you, you realize, wait, why have I not been doing this all along?
Yes.
And like,
Yes.
you didn't get on a bike and ride it right the first time. You fell down a couple times,
Yep.
but you had the courage to keep getting back on. And that's part of where I come in of being your fan. I'm, your biggest fan for sure. That is something
Yes.
like I love people so much. And it's like, how often do you have somebody in your corner how often in a coaching session do you have 1 hour that is
Mhm.
all about you,
Yep.
that is completely confidential and not judgmental?
Yes. Yes. Well, and as you say that, so I love, like, many who are watching will hear this language, especially of those of us who are certified using certain words. So, like this taking a stand for, right, is when we actually hold back up to our client who they say they want to be, what it is they say that they want. And even when they might start to waver, we remind them, right? Like, this is what you have said that you want. I've seen you express this. I've seen you talk about the pain of not embodying this way of being causes you. And I would say that Kendall is a world-class encourager. She knows how to take a stand for her clients, for those of us who are in the Inner Glow constellation. And she's affectionately known as Mama Bear, right, in our spaces, because she really does care for people and care for folks. So I love that you're doing that in a way that not only is fulfilling for you, but that is making a difference in people's lives. I am curious, Kendall, as you think about coaching and your own experience, and also the experience of clients, right? What becomes possible when people engage with a coach, right? With this outside person, this voice, this accompanier, if you will. What can become possible for a person?
That's a really great question, Rosella. Ooh, like the possibilities are endless, but
Yeah.
really, like, what are some things that truly become possible? And for me personally, the big piece of having been coached and coaching, the word that comes up is accountability.
Mm,
I am
mhm.
a person of my word. So when I say it out loud and it is heard, and I make a agreement or promise,
Yeah.
I will follow through. So having been coached and being a coach allows for accountability
Yeah.
that we are all seeking. And we take it to a different level, I believe.
Yeah.
What does accountability mean to someone? What does accountability mean to you, Rosella?
Yep. Yep. And we don't,
And
oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
continue.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking when you said that, when we talk about accountability, we're not like the get you in trouble police, right? Like
No.
I have no desire. My clients know I have no desire to be chasing after you, to be like continually asking you, did you do this? Did you do that? But I think what you just said at the end of your statement around asking a client, what does accountability mean to you? Right? Like,
Mm,
how is it that you find not only support, but find the encouragement and the motivation to keep going when you want to stop, right? Like, what are you doing in service of the person that you say you want to be? And then my
absolutely.
opportunity as a coach, the invitation that I get as a coach is to continue to remind you of that. And then the thing that I often tell clients too, if there is something that you've set up as a goal and there is a true struggle or a block in achieving that or making those moves, then we get to like refigure the frame. We get to say, okay, maybe this isn't the thing. Like, let's look at what's getting in the way and then let's do the work together of dismantling the block so that you can succeed. And I use succeed in air quotes just because, again, success is different for
Yep.
everyone, right? It's about the co-created relationship and goals that the client comes to us with that we get to help support. Um, so yeah, so I mean, I love this. I love all of this and just the relationship that you have not only with IGC, but with your clients and with all the peers that you come in contact with. What led you to, so at the top of the call, you talked about being a PCC coach with the International Coach
Yeah.
Federation. Talk a little bit about that. What led you to get that certification? For folks who don't know, like, what are the levels of coach certification outside of, so we're both certified through a coach training program. But that coach training program, many of us chose specifically because they're accredited by the International Coach Federation. So talk to us a little bit about accreditation, why that's important to you, and what became a reality when you got that particular level of certification.
Hmm. So just going back to, because I think this segues into that, is when I think of accountability,
Mm-hmm.
I think of it being the ability to show up as your best self, whatever that
Yes.
means for you.
Yes.
So if you simply said, you know, an accountability partner, I have a friend that I meet to walk. I show up because it allows me to be my best self and the things that I want in my life. And I show up because I'm meeting somebody else there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that being said, the importance of a credential for me, or the certification, in being accountable to myself,
Mm-hmm.
there is ingrained in me for some reason, and it's come back so many times in my life. Prior to becoming, a cosmetologist, I went to school to become a teacher. And for whatever reason, it wasn't for me, the traditional academic path. I was like, there's something more creative for me. I need to do this differently. Yep. And I don't know if it'll ever come back. And what happened in that was I was able to be a platform artist in the hairdressing world and teach people how to use color and do things. I've been able to be in the preschool front and teach little ones, basics. Mm-hmm. And it keeps coming back, that passion of sharing knowledge with others. So again, in the inner glow circle space, being able to be a lead trainer and give people the foundation, the steps that they need to be their best selves. And if they are better than me, I want to celebrate with them every step of the way, because I'm going to make sure I gave you everything you needed to be that person. So the whole credentialing process versus certification. Most people will only hire a certified coach. They say 87% of people will only hire a certified coach. Mm-hmm. So what becomes possible with that? Well, you can impact more people, you can change more lives, and you can make more money to live the life that you love.
Yep.
So why a credential? Why is that important? For me, credential was important. I knew from the time I got into coaching that it was something I wanted, because it's like the gold standard. It's like getting your master's in teaching. It's not about the title, but it's about holding myself to the highest standard.
Yes.
And it's rigorous, and it takes time and energy and commitment.
Yeah.
So what it has allowed me to do is work as a trainer, because with a credential, you're allowed to, it gives you more opportunities. If you're working in not-for-profits, sometimes they only want a credentialed coach.
Yep.
If you're teaching, they want a credentialed coach. If you're executive coaching, for sure, they want to.
Yep.
So credentialing was important to me because of the level of commitment I was willing to give to this industry to impact the lives of others.
Absolutely. And I love how you talk about, like, you've always been a teacher and finding the space and place, like, where that connection happens in each iteration of your life. So talk to us a little bit about your role with Inner Glow, and also how I want to talk about, like, you do see clients, but you also dedicate a lot of your time to coach training. So talk about kind of that relationship, how you decided that you wanted to work with an organization instead of just doing clients on your own, how that came to pass.
That's really easy. What a great question for me. So going back to, I love people. And one of Inner Glow Circle's core values is work for yourself, not by yourself. And coaching has endless possibilities, but I love working with people. And it's nice to be in meetings with others. It's nice to do that from anywhere as well, because that's the beauty of the way the world has changed. Although the pandemic has definitely been challenging, it just opened up a lot of things for each and every one of us in our lives that we didn't have the ability or access to do before. So, you and I are in two different states and having this wonderful conversation today. So in the IGC world, we train coaches from all over the world on a call just like this, a live call, we create a safe space with like-minded women to empower them, make an impact, build their confidence, and change their lives.
Yep.
So that's a little bit on that front. The teaching space for me, going back to that, is just, it's so important to me to build others up and to make a difference in their lives. And I think foundations and the fundamentals of learning are so important. And the beauty of that is, we can, if we are willing and open, we can do that at any age. It's never too late.
Yes, it's
And
never
that's
too
the
late.
same with the coaching, right? So I do some of my own private coaching as well. And, you know, you're on the other side, or your kids are almost grown, or you're about to become an empty nester, and you might have lost a little bit of yourself along the way. How do you tap into what your purpose is, how you were meant to make a difference, or what joy even means to you again?
Yeah.
And that's what I do, you know, in my private practice. So it's the best of both worlds for me, really. I, you know, I get to do the things that fill my cup. And I, at the retreat recently, when I was able to see you in person, I could feel my joy.
Yeah. And
And
let me tell y'all, to be in the room with her in that space, because that was our first time being together, actually since 2021.
yeah,
No, 2021 or 2022. I can't remember.
it was
Like 2022, the spring of
yes,
2022.
spring of 2022.
But seeing Kendall a year later, like leading in that space, and totally like you were just vibrating with joy, with passion, with confidence, right? Of like who you are and who you're continuing to become as not just a coach, but as a trainer, as someone who is rooted deeply in this methodology, this practice. And it's just a joy to behold, right? So it, yeah, that rubs off on all of us. And I think, you know, when I think about coaches, we are also taught, one of the things that we're taught in IGC is that we can coach anyone around anything. And I really believe that, right? We don't have to have been in that career field or have to have been in that stage of life, because IGC does a really good job of not only teaching us deep listening and connecting, but contextual relevance, focusing in on diversity, those things that make us not only different, but allow us to learn and become more curious about a person and their lived experience. So we can coach around anything. As you think about who your ideal client is, you talked a little bit about, you know, you're not too old to engage this if you're someone who's listening. What else would you say about an ideal client that you would want to work with?
Ideal client for me is somebody that's willing to do the hard work, even when it's hard. They know they're stuck and they want to move into the next phase, whatever that is, whether it's, you know, you're on the end of college and you're trying to figure out your career path, or you are looking to make a job change or a transition. So my ideal client is somebody that's ready to embrace change. That is, you know, we all have something we'd like to change. And on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're 5 or higher, let's get this done.
Yeah. And the fact that you said embrace change and they're willing to do the work, because I don't know about y'all, like whoever might be watching or listening, like change is hard. It's disorienting. It brings up grief. I mean, the work that I do with nonprofits and organizations a lot of times is rooted in grief work, because at the end of the day, everyone thinks about change as just like this new thing happening, but there's so many pieces of ourselves, of our identity, of what we had hoped, of what we're losing, of what will be different that we don't always attend to. So on the one hand, change is hard work. So why not do it with someone who is accompanying you on that journey? But on the other hand, it requires intentionality, right? And so much of coaching is not just about it's never about what I'm telling a client to do, right? But it's about us coming to understand what the work is that would be most important for a client to embrace, especially as they're on the coaching journey and in between sessions. And when I talk about work, right, some of my clients who are the high achieving, high performing clients, because surprise, they're like me, a lot of our clients reflect us. I say that the work sometimes might be you sitting outside in the grass and breathing, right? The work might be you deciding how many naps you're going to take this week. The work might be journaling. Like, the work is not necessarily doing more, but it's about what you're being invited to be in the journey to becoming aligned, in the journey of embracing change, in the journey of creating and living your most meaningful life. And I feel like it's really an honor, and I feel like you and I would say this, like, it's a call, like we're embracing a sacred call in this work, right?
Absolutely. The other pieces we talk about with change, as hard as it is, I shared with you, we were talking, and we change all the time, every day.
Yep.
We have changed from who we were 5, 10, 20 years ago to what we look like today. When we go on those walks in nature, or the seasons change every day. Right now, right?
Yep.
We're in this rebirth and this hopefulness with spring coming, and you're seeing buds coming up and all of that. And like, we think nature is so beautiful. Nature changes every day, every season. So if we can embrace a little bit more of that and have a little more grace for ourselves,
that's beautiful.
This wouldn't be so hard.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think about, and I'll drop this in the description for today's video. There's a resource by Parker Palmer called Seasons. And Parker Palmer's all the things: educator, theologian, thinker, but talks about seasons. And he has this booklet where he talks about each season and essentially the work of each season, right? So, and essentially following nature's lead and how that applies to the seasons of our lives. And it's not always, right, when we think about the seasons of our lives, it's not necessarily tracking along winter, spring, summer, fall, but that each of those seasons invites us to a different way, a new way of being, of seeing things, right? A lot of times we think that winter is this barren wasteland, and one of the invitations is actually winter is a time for deep rest, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
yep.
Fall is a time of things literally falling away as we prepare to go into the season of rest. Spring is the time, to your point, of the blooming, the budding, the things coming to life. Summer is a time everything is in its full glory, right? So as we think about the seasons and seasons of our life with our clients, it becomes really just an awesome gift to be able to support them in their becoming and their shifting as they embrace the change that they ultimately are seeking.
And I think, right, that's really powerful. I want to take you from winter and rest and hibernating and taking it all in to summer being in your full glory.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So Kendell, tell us what we need to know about getting in touch with you. Right. So if someone is interested in training, or if they're interested in working with you, and we'll drop some of the links below, but tell us what people need to know.
I'm really easy to get in touch with. You can find me at Kendell Daly on Instagram, DM me. The same with Facebook. Feel free to message me. My email address is Inner Glow Circle, Kendell Daly at innerglowcircle.com. So feel free to message me there. And I'm always happy to share my phone number. So if anybody would like that,
DM her and then get the phone number.
DM me for that. Exactly. So those are easy ways to get in touch with me. And if you're feeling called, if you're feeling like you're ready to embrace change, and you're ready to transition, connect with me, and I'd be happy to walk alongside you, empower you, help you build your confidence, and say yes to no.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kendall, for joining me today. And thank you to anyone and everyone who has watched or listened. This has been Elevate Coaching, a series sponsored by yours truly, Rosella Ade White, the Love Big Coach, where we are exploring the power of coaching and how it helps us to consider new possibilities and create new realities. We will be live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of March 2023 of Women's History Month, highlighting coaches who are women who are seeking to support you in various ways. I'm really excited about who we have coming up on Friday because she is a coach for the adventurer and all of us, right? So I'll share more information about my dear friend Shannon and the work that she's doing with women and outdoor activities and adventure and coaching us to reconnect not only with ourselves, but also with nature. So thank you for joining us, and please share, drop any comments or questions you have below, and I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you so much, Rosella.